Stop throwing onion skins beneath your tomato plants. If the vines are blooming without setting fruit, blossoms are falling off, and aphids are everywhere, you have reached the exact double failure point. The fertilizer you're planning to buy could make the entire situation worse. Over the next 12 minutes, here is the $0 kitchen scrap method that targets both issues at once. Most gardeners destroy this trick for one reason, and it is not because of the onion itself. A University of Florida experiment discovered that one specific mistake can reduce tomato root systems by 72% in only 10 days. There are 3 numbers you need to remember. They are what keep the plants alive during the most fragile stage of growth. Flowering and fruit development create the most delicate period in a tomato plant's cycle. Calcium demand surges because every forming fruit needs stronger cell walls. At the exact same moment, tomato blossoms release scents that attract aphids and whiteflies from across the yard. The feeding system and the defense system begin collapsing together. That is the double failure point. Most gardeners respond the wrong way. As soon as fruit starts failing, they reach for high potassium fertilizer. They spend $30 to $50 every season on products that actually intensify blossom end rot. Potassium and calcium compete at the root level. They rely on the same transport channels inside the root membrane. Potassium moves quickly because it is a smaller ion. Calcium travels slower and heavier. When excess potassium floods the soil, calcium absorption is blocked. The fruit walls fail to receive enough calcium. The bottoms of tomatoes begin breaking down. That dark sunken spot appearing underneath young fruit is blossom end rot. The product bought to solve the issue often becomes the cause. The spray approach against pests creates another problem. Whiteflies rarely stay motionless on leaves long enough for surface sprays to work. Most remain suspended in the air layer surrounding the canopy. A spray may hit only 20% of them, but it consistently kills beneficial predators like ladybugs and lacewings that naturally control aphids. Within weeks, aphid numbers rebound harder than before. Gardeners spend $70 each season while the infestation keeps expanding. 3 warning signs usually appear together. Black, sunken patches form beneath young tomatoes. Flower stems turn yellow and fall before pollination even happens. Older leaves burn around the edges while new growth curls inward. If 2 of those 3 symptoms appear on the same plant, the double failure point has already begun. One gardener from Texas sent a message last summer after using high potassium fertilizer on beefsteak tomatoes for 3 straight years. Every season, the blossom end rot became more severe. Then he stopped feeding one single bed with the fertilizer. The rot disappeared by itself. The soil stayed the same. The seedlings were identical. Only one factor changed. Potassium can make tomatoes taste sweeter, but only if enough calcium already exists to strengthen the fruit walls around those sugars. When the balance breaks, the plant produces sweet liquid trapped behind collapsing tissue. That is not a healthy tomato. It is decay beginning. So what can calm both problems at once? The answer is probably sitting in the trash tonight. A dry onion skin can do both jobs at the same time. The thin outer layer from 3 average onions weighs around 15 to 20 grams. That small amount becomes the entire supercharger. The reason it works starts with the fruit itself. Onion skins contain calcium and potassium in a very particular structure. The calcium remains trapped inside microscopic crystals known as calcium oxalate. Soil microbes slowly break those crystals apart over several weeks. As they work, calcium releases gradually. No sudden spike, no salt damage. The nutrient reaches the roots exactly when developing fruit needs it most. There's published data supporting it. A peer-reviewed paper in Scientific Reports tested onion skin powder and measured nearly 39,000 milligrams of calcium per gram of dry material. The same skins contained more than 4,000 milligrams of potassium. According to Penn State Extension, the largest correction for blossom end rot is maintaining a stable calcium supply reaching the fruit. A buried onion skin functions like a slow drip system delivering that nutrient only 5 centimeters from the root zone. Then comes the second function. Same onion skin, different chemical reaction. When moisture breaks open the skin cells underground, an enzyme called a lyasase becomes active. That enzyme transforms sulfur compounds inside the onion into thiosulfonate. It belongs to the same chemical group responsible for tears when cutting fresh onions. Thiocyanate changes the air around the tomato plant in 3 ways. First, it masks the scent signals that normally help aphids and whiteflies locate tomato leaves. The pests struggle to find the canopy as easily. If that alone is saving $70 each season, the next section matters even more. This is the part most gardeners never hear about. 3 numbers. 1 mistake. And a University of Florida study explaining why 90% of gardeners accidentally turn this method into a root disaster. Here is the exact process for 1 mature tomato plant or any plant growing in a 5-gallon container. Apply it once at the beginning of the flowering stage. Not every week, not every watering cycle, 1 time only. That rule cannot change. Start by drying the skins completely. Measure 15 to 20 grams, roughly the outer paper layers, from 3 large onions. Use a kitchen scale the first time, so the amount becomes easy to recognize later. Check the skins carefully. If black dust or fuzzy growth appears anywhere, that is black mold. Throw those skins away immediately and begin again. Mold should never reach the root system. Next comes burial. Dig a small opening exactly 5 centimeters away from the main stem. Not closer, never pressed against the stem itself. The hole should also be 5 centimeters deep. Place the onion skins inside and cover them with soil. 5 and 5. Far enough away so the root crown stays clear, but close enough for nutrients to move toward the plant. The sulfur compounds only work if they can rise into the canopy once the soil temperature increases. After burying the onion skins, water the bed immediately. That first soaking activates the bacteria responsible for releasing calcium into the soil. For the next 2 weeks, maintain steady moisture levels. Do not leave the soil soaked. Do not let it become completely dry either. Consistent moisture is what transports calcium into developing fruit. The repeated dry to wet cycle is the leading trigger behind blossom end rot, even in gardens where onion skins are never used. Now comes the mistake that destroys this entire method. Many gardeners hear the words free fertilizer and dump an entire bowl of onion skins directly against the tomato stem. That is exactly what should never happen. Researchers at the University of Florida studied concentrated onion compounds on tomato roots in 2021. The outcome was severe. Root hair density in tomato plants fell by 72% after only 10 days. 72% gone. The plants lost the ability to pull water. Nutrient uptake slowed down. Growth became stunted, yellow, and weak. The same chemistry that helps in controlled amounts becomes destructive in excess. The scientific term is allelopathic root suppression. In plain language, it means too much of a good thing. There's also one important safety warning. Onion plants belong to the allium family. Allium is genuinely toxic to dogs and cats if they consume raw skins or bulbs. Burying the onion skin 5 centimeters underground and covering it with soil keeps it out of reach. If a dog regularly digs through garden beds, placing a small rock above the burial spot solves the problem. Children are generally safe because the compounds naturally break down in the soil after a few weeks. Some people hear this method and think 1 handful per plant sounds too small. That is the entire point. The real power of this trick comes from placing 15 grams in the correct location instead of 100 grams in the wrong one. More is not better. Correct placement is what matters. Remember the 3 numbers, 15 to 20 grams, 5 centimeters from the stem, 1 application during each flowering window. Memorize those numbers. Keep them in mind because they separate a healthy, sweet harvest from a bed full of damaged roots. The flowering stage of a tomato plant creates a double failure point. Heavy fertilizer use can intensify blossom end rot. Sprays often make aphid problems worse. Both approaches cost money while working against the plant at the same time. 1 dried onion skin can support both systems together. Slow-release calcium and potassium feed the fruit. Sulfur compounds moving through the air discourage pests. 1 skin, 2 functions. $0. The key is precision. 15 to 20 grams, 5 centimeters from the stem. 1 time during the flowering period. Get those numbers right, and that 72% root collapse becomes a problem you avoid instead of create. Most gardeners ruin this method because they estimate the amount and assume more must work better. That mistake is what places them inside the 90%. Now you know the difference. Save these numbers somewhere, you can find them later. In 2 or 3 weeks, when you're standing over a flowering tomato plant trying to remember whether the amount was 15 grams or 50, those details will matter. Test the method on 1 plant this week. The first time someone leans across the fence asking why your tomatoes have no blossom end rot, you will understand why this story deserves to be passed along. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.